Have you ever noticed how some people can drain your soul without ever raising a hand? You offer your help, your guidance, your patience, and somehow, it is you who loses yourself in the process. Good intentions, noble acts, and relentless compassion can become weapons against your own peace when placed in the hands of the wrong person. The Stoics warned us long ago. Mercy without wisdom becomes a subtle form of self-destruction. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, extending your hand to someone who refuses to move, refusing to lift themselves. Their weight is not physical, yet your arms tremble under it. That is the tragedy of helping the lazy. They are not evil. They are simply comfortable in their weakness, and that comfort becomes their poison. They speak of unfairness, obstacles, and a world that conspires against them. They invite you into their narrative not as allies, but as enablers. Seneca once wrote, "He who spends his life rescuing the ungrateful destroys his own peace." The lazy do not seek your wisdom, they seek your surrender. Each favor, each act of mercy, becomes a thread in a chain that binds you to their inertia. They have mastered an ancient art, the manipulation of empathy. One rescue turns into another. One act of kindness becomes a pattern, until you look back and realize your life is measured not by your growth, but by their stagnation. Think of a friend who has spent years helping a younger sibling. He provides work, shelter, guidance, and patience. For a while it feels noble, but over the years, nothing changes. The sibling's dreams are crushed by their own resistance, while the friend's spirit slowly erodes. Mercy without boundaries, wisdom without action becomes cruelty, not to the lazy, but to yourself. The Stoics understood that true strength is not in carrying what others refuse to lift. Nature teaches this effortlessly. A mother bird does not feed a grown chick that refuses to fly. A tree does not nourish a branch that has died, not from cruelty, but from understanding limits. Human beings often mistake endless giving for virtue. Compassion without discernment is vanity disguised as love. Now picture yourself offering your time, energy, and heart to someone who never feels gratitude. They do not value your intentions. They value only what they can extract. This is the beginning of the journey into the second archetype, the ungrateful. The ungrateful are the ones who smile when you help once, but expect endlessly after that. Gratitude is fleeting, replaced by entitlement. Their perception is simple. Your kindness is a debt owed to them. Seneca said, "A benefit consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver." But the ungrateful see intention as irrelevant. They respond only to supply, not principle. Helping them, no matter how noble, will never create loyalty, only expectation. Each act of generosity becomes proof of your obligation. Each kind word another leash around your freedom. They will accuse you of coldness when you withdraw. They will distort your silence into guilt. You begin to see the more you give, the more you are consumed. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." But goodness without wisdom becomes self-harm. Compassion must have boundaries, or it ceases to be virtue. Step back, detach, and observe. The Stoics would call this the discipline of perception, the ability to see who deserves your effort and who does not. The first lesson is clear. The lazy and the ungrateful will never grow through your mercy. They will grow only through consequence, and each time you intervene without discernment, you delay their lesson and destroy a piece of yourself. There is a particular kind of person whose ruin hides beneath polished words and confident smiles. They do not beg for your help. They demand your admiration. They do not appear weak. They appear certain. You feel drawn to their conviction, to the way they never doubt themselves. But what you do not see at first is that their certainty feeds on control. This is the third type, the arrogant. To the Stoics, arrogance is ignorance wearing a crown. It is blindness to one's own flaws disguised as strength. The arrogant man cannot learn because he already believes he knows. He cannot grow because every correction feels like an insult. Try to help him, and you will discover a wall built of pride, smooth, cold, impenetrable. Seneca wrote, "No man was ever wise by chance. Wisdom requires humility, the willingness to be wrong, to change, to listen. The arrogant despise that process. They view your advice as a challenge to their throne. Offer them reason, and they will give you ridicule. Offer them truth, and they will twist it until it flatters them. You will leave these interactions drained, confused, wondering how an act of goodwill turned into a battle for dominance. The Stoic answer is simple. You were trying to plant seeds in stone. The arrogant cannot be guided because they mistake every guiding hand for restraint. The only lesson they will ever respect is the consequence of their own fall. And fall they will, because arrogance blinds one to the laws of nature, the inevitability of change, the necessity of humility. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You could die tomorrow. Let that determine what you do and say and think." But the arrogant believe they will never fall. They speak loudly about destiny, yet forget that even emperors are dust. When you meet such people, step aside. Do not try to humble them with wisdom. Life will do that work for you with greater precision and less mercy. Your task, as a Stoic, is not to correct every fool, but to protect your inner peace from their noise. And yet there exists a far subtler danger, the fourth archetype, whose harm is not loud but silent, not proud but cunning. This is the manipulator. If arrogance is the fortress that repels your help, manipulation is the vine that climbs your walls and chokes your peace from within. Manipulators do not reject your help, they weaponize it. They study your kindness, your empathy, your need to be good, and they turn it into a tool for control. Epictetus warned, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." But the manipulator learns everything about you, what softens you, what makes you yield, and then uses it to bend your will. They will cry at the right moment, flatter at the right word, and guilt you when silence does not work. They are masters of moral disguise. They appear as victims, seekers of wisdom, broken souls who only need one more chance. And because you value virtue, you offer it, again and again. You lend your time, your energy, your forgiveness, until you realize your mercy has become their instrument. The Stoics called this the corruption of intention, when your desire to do good blinds you to the results of your actions. Helping a manipulator does not make the world better, it makes deception stronger. The more you give, the more you teach them that their strategy works. There is a story told of a philosopher who once took in a troubled student. The student wept, promising reform, but each lesson ended with lies. One day the philosopher finally said, "You do not wish to change, you wish me to carry you." And he turned the student away. The world called it cruelty, the philosopher called it mercy. To withdraw your help from those who twist it is not an act of hate, it is an act of wisdom. Mercy, like fire, must be contained or it will burn the one who tends it. Marcus Aurelius taught, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Manipulators will fill your thoughts with doubt about your goodness, your worth, your responsibility. They will make you question whether boundaries are selfish. But Stoic philosophy draws the line clearly. Kindness without clarity is slavery. When you meet the manipulator, do not argue, do not explain, do not justify. Step back into silence. Observe their discomfort when their usual tools fail. That silence is your armor. That distance is your wisdom. The lazy drain your time. The ungrateful drain your joy. The arrogant drain your patience. But the manipulator, he drains your very identity. Once you recognize this, you begin to see the pattern that links them all. It is not that these people are evil. It is that they are asleep, lost in their own illusions. And when you enter their dream, trying to wake them, you risk falling asleep yourself. The Stoic path demands awareness, not bitterness. You do not curse them. You simply see them for what they are, and seeing clearly is enough. Because sometimes the purest act of love is withdrawal. There are wounds that do not bleed, yet poison everything they touch. They smile when you rise, but their hearts ache when you shine. They speak of friendship, yet every compliment is a blade wrapped in silk. This is the fifth archetype, the envious. Of all the people the Stoics warned us about, the envious are perhaps the hardest to detect. They do not attack you directly, They disguise their bitterness as advice, their resentment as concern. They will stand beside you in public but curse you in private. Seneca wrote, "Envy is the enemy's heart laid bare. It suffers not from another's success but from its own failure to grow." To envy is to live in constant comparison, to measure one's worth by another's reflection. And when you help the envious, you do not lift them, you arm them, because every success you bring them only sharpens their jealousy. The more they receive, the more they believe they deserve what you have. You will feel it in subtle ways: sarcasm after your small victories, silence when you share your joy, sudden distance when you do well. They do not want your failure as much as they cannot stand your peace. The Stoic knows that envy is not about possessions, it is about presence. It is the pain of seeing someone live freely when you are still chained. When you offer help to the envious, they may thank you aloud, but in their heart, they store a debt. They will remind you later of everything they endured for you, twisting gratitude into guilt. And slowly, you will find yourself apologizing for your own light. Marcus Aurelius warned himself, "Do not waste your life speculating what others think of you." The envious live entirely in that speculation. Their happiness depends on another's shadow, and no amount of kindness will fill that void, because envy is not healed by gifts. It is healed by humility, and humility cannot be given. So, protect your peace. Let your success offend no one, but do not dim your fire to comfort those who fear the flame. A Stoic rises not to be seen, but because rising is his duty. If your light blinds someone, it was their eyes that were unprepared. But there is a darker presence still, one that does not envy your success but feeds on your trust. The sixth archetype, the deceitful. The deceitful person is a master of masks. They do not merely lie, they craft illusions. They observe what you value most and reflect it back to you. They become the version of themselves they think you will trust. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The deceitful test that reaction, shaping their behavior to pass through your defenses. They may speak with calmness, appear humble, even righteous. But deceit is not always in words. It is in intention. They promise loyalty but measure opportunity. They smile when you give, but vanish when you fall. You'll often realize too late that what you mistook for connection was calculation. They studied your weaknesses to build their strength. And when their purpose is served, they leave without guilt, for deception has replaced their conscience. The Stoics would say, "You were not betrayed, you simply refused to see." Because deceit does not begin in others, it begins in our wish to believe. We want to see good so badly that we ignore the cracks. Helping the deceitful is like pouring water into sand. No matter how much you give, it disappears, and you are left empty. When Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one," he was warning against this very trap. The deceitful talk endlessly about goodness. They use morality as currency. They know that the virtuous often feel guilty for doubting others, and they exploit that. To a Stoic, the antidote is clarity, never emotion. If words and actions do not align, believe the actions. Promises repeat but results never appear. Believe the silence. Helping the deceitful is not kindness. It is participation in your own manipulation. You cannot heal what hides from truth. Yet here lies the hardest lesson. Stoicism does not ask you to hate the deceitful. It asks you to understand them, to see that their lies are not power but fear, the fear of being ordinary, unseen, or unloved. And once you see this, their power fades. Forgiveness for the Stoic is not permission to return. It is release from resentment. You do not forgive to reconcile. You forgive to stay free. When you meet the deceitful, walk away without bitterness. Their life will crumble under the weight of their own masks. Every lie requires another to sustain it, and eventually, the tower falls. As you withdraw, remember, you do not owe access to anyone simply because you once offered help. Mercy has meaning only when it protects wisdom. The envious will drain your joy quietly. The deceitful will take your trust loudly. Both are dangerous not because of what they do, but because of what they make you doubt. Your judgment, your instincts, your goodness. The Stoic learns to see clearly, to act justly, and to protect peace above approval. Because there is one final archetype yet, the most dangerous of all. The one who hides not behind pride or lies, but behind pain. And that is where the true test of wisdom begins. Some people do not want healing. They want attention dressed as empathy, and pity disguised as love. Their wounds are not scars, they are identities. This is the seventh and final archetype, the chronic victim. At first, you will feel compassion for them. You'll hear the pain in their voice, the weight of their memories, and the injustice they've endured. You'll think, if I can just show them kindness, maybe they'll finally heal. But the Stoics would warn, not everyone seeks freedom. Some seek sympathy because it gives them control. The chronic victim builds their world around suffering. Every event becomes proof that the universe is against them. If they fail, it's because others betrayed them. If they succeed, it's never enough. They feed on emotional rescue. Your reassurance becomes their drug, your guilt their fuel. And the tragedy? You won't realize you're being drained until you're empty. Epictetus said, "What disturbs people is not things themselves, but their judgments about things." The victim refuses this truth. They will not change their judgment because pain has become their sense of self. Take it away, and they feel invisible. When you help them, you think you're giving support, but you're actually giving permission for them to stay powerless. Every time you fix what they refuse to face, you reinforce their cage. And slowly, you join them inside it. They'll tell you stories that make you feel responsible for their peace. They'll make you believe that your withdrawal is cruelty. But Stoicism teaches, mercy without truth is destruction. You are not cruel for refusing to participate in someone's self-pity. You are wise. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The chronic victim craves more comfort, more sympathy, more validation. No matter what you give, it disappears into an endless well of want. And in time, you'll notice how their suffering spreads. Your mood, your focus, even your sense of purpose begins to rot under the constant weight of their despair. The Stoic path demands compassion, yes, but compassion with boundaries. Marcus Aurelius himself, surrounded by war and betrayal, reminded his soul daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That was not a statement of coldness. It was a reminder of freedom. To truly help others, you must first preserve the clarity that helps you think, act, and love wisely. The chronic victim thrives when you forget that. When you start to confuse rescuing with kindness, you cannot save someone who benefits from being broken. That realization is painful, but it is the doorway to peace. Because when you stop trying to fix the unfixable, you reclaim your strength for what can truly grow. So what do you do when you recognize these 7 people in your life? Do you cut them out entirely, curse them, harden your heart? The Stoic answer is none of these. You rise above, not with arrogance, but with awareness. You detach, not to punish, but to protect what is sacred, your reason, your virtue, your peace. Stoicism is not about isolation. It is about selective connection. The wise man helps where help will create strength, not dependence. He listens without absorbing pain that isn't his. He gives without expectation and walks away without resentment. The Stoic sees human weakness not as evil, but as ignorance. He understands that the lazy, the ungrateful, the arrogant, the manipulative, the envious, the deceitful, and the victim all suffer the same disease, blindness to their own mind. They seek control of others because they have lost control of themselves. Your task as a student of philosophy is not to fix them, but to see them clearly, to understand the game before you are pulled into it, to help when possible, and to walk away when wisdom demands. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time debating what a good man should be. Be one. That is your anchor. While others drown in emotion, you stay grounded in virtue. Do good, but do not destroy yourself trying to prove it. Show mercy, but not at the cost of truth. Offer love, but not as a substitute for someone else's discipline. Because the world is full of people who will ask for your hand. But not everyone wants to climb. When you finally understand that, you will move differently. You'll listen, but you'll no longer absorb. You'll help, but you'll no longer rescue. You'll love, but you'll no longer lose yourself in the process. And that is the highest Stoic virtue. Not detachment from others, but mastery of self. Remember, the lazy will waste your time. The ungrateful will waste your gratitude. The arrogant will waste your advice. The manipulator will waste your empathy. The envious will waste your joy. The deceitful will waste your trust. And the victim will waste your strength. You cannot afford to lose the most precious thing you own, your peace, for those who cannot value it. So be kind but stay wise. Be patient but stay firm. And above all, walk your path with calm conviction. Not because the world is gentle, but because you are unshakable. That is the Stoic way.